Donald Trump is having a disastrous Wednesday. The war is getting worse for him in the United States. The markets are crashing. He's destroyed the economy. So he calls up state regime media, which calls itself Fox, and he starts saying, I'm going to blow the effing shit out of Iran, except he curses, I'm going to blow the effing shit out of them. And then the host from Fox conveys that live on TV. I just got off the phone with the president of the United States who said, we're going to blow the effing shit out of them. We're going to beat them the F up. Here, let's play this clip.
In Jordan, President Trump tells Fox News about Iran, we are going to beat the effing S out of them. He went on to say, we'll be hitting them hard. They're going to get a beating. So clearly the United States is going to respond to what the president described as a surprise attack. He says U.S. forces had just minutes to shoot down these incoming Iranian ballistic missiles.
Then this state regime media host says, yes, and Donald Trump repeatedly said, we're going to beat them. I'm going to beat them down. They still want to keep on talking, perhaps, so we may keep on talking, but I'm going to beat the F out of them. I'm going to beat the F out of them. Here, play this clip.
In the Oval Great, in terms of possible talks with the Iranian regime, the president says we're going to let them keep talking. Remember, the Iranians came to President Trump after 13 straight days of U.S. bombing against Iran, asking to meet about the Strait of Hormuz and their broader nuclear ambitions. And those talks are taking place as we speak behind the scenes. And then this surprise attack launched against U.S. forces overnight. And again, President Trump telling Fox News, we are going to beat the effing S out of them, and that U.S. strikes will take place against Iran in response to this surprise attack overnight against U.S. forces in Jordan.
Then Donald Trump says that he had a great conversation with Netanyahu yesterday, and that Netanyahu agrees with him on everything. Netanyahu understands the plan. By the way, Netanyahu will be meeting with Hegseth today. More on what Hegseth was posting in just a moment. But here's what Donald Trump said right before Netanyahu is set to meet with Hegseth. Let's play this clip.
Regime. The president also talked about his meeting yesterday with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in the Oval Office. He says it was a great meeting, adding he understands now. It appears that the relationship between President Trump and the Israeli prime minister is strengthening. And again, the president called that meeting in the Oval great. In terms of—
And then more from the state regime media host who talks about his conversation with Donald Trump. And then he talks about how Iran struck the U.S. base in Jordan last night, which we reported first here on the MeidasTouch network. It should also be noted that the United States and Saudi Arabia struck Iranian militias in Iraq, killing about 25, 30 people. I'll get you the latest count in just a moment, but massive strikes on the Iranian militias in Iraq. Let's play this clip.
We'll be hitting them hard. They're going to get a beating. So clearly the United States is going to respond to what the president described as a surprise attack. He says U.S. forces had just minutes to shoot down these incoming Iranian ballistic missiles. The president says he has reviewed video of the shoot down, and it was U.S. forces conducting this operation to defend that area. He said it.
And then this state regime media host says that Donald Trump said the Iran-backed militias in Iraq are a cancer on the world. So Trump says, I am considering powerfully additional warnings against the Iranian proxies after I beat the effing shit out of them. Again, this is how the president of the United States speaks. This is a complete and utter humiliation for us here in the United States, as Donald Trump continues to lie and claim he's doing deals with Iran while we have run out of our Patriot interceptors, our THAAD interceptors. Here, let's play this clip.
Shia militias overnight. He says those strikes were coordinated with the Iraqi government. He called these Iran-backed militias a cancer on the world and says he is considering additional warnings against Iranian proxies and their link to the Iranian regime. The president also talked about his meeting yesterday with Israeli Prime Minister Ben.
Now, I want to remind you as well of just what happened again yesterday. Iran launched strikes against a U.S. base in Jordan. the same base that about a week ago, there were 3 U.S. service members who were killed in action there. Remember, there was a 4th service member killed in action, or who got killed in Erbil in Iraq. And then the United States and Saudi Arabia launched attacks against Iranian interest in Iraq. This was after Saudi Arabia struck the Sana'a air base in Yemen, which the Houthis control. And then the Houthis struck those 3 refineries in Saudi Arabia, the 3 main refineries in Saudi Arabia, and the pipeline connecting East and West Saudi Arabia. Share this with you right now, posted by Pete Hegseth's so-called Department of War, the Defense Department. Here's what they posted, that this task force embedded with the U.S. Pacific Fleet at Joint Base Pearl Harbor over a 4-day period delivered over 20 custom AI agents to sailors, automating heavy cognitive burdens on the watch floor. Key achievements including collapsing a critical 3-day operational reporting process into just 1 hour, converting critical data into structured briefing slides. I don't know, did AI write that social media post too? But the basic claim is that, look, even though things are not going good with this catastrophic war in Iran, we're building up our AI capabilities. But here's the images that they showed that our service members were discussing apparently at this AI innovation training that was taking place. Zoom in right here about what's on the screen. I need help building an agent to create a war I received. That's one of the prompts on the AI behind our service members right there. Motorcycle accident reports. FIFA free kick wall rules. That's the search history right there. Meanwhile, as I noted at the outset, oil prices once again are surging, up about 7 to 10% on the day. Inflation continues to surge, obviously, as America is in a very dire economic situation, a global economic catastrophe unleashed by Donald Trump's disastrous war, Trump's trade war against the world, the Dow Jones, all the major indices in the United States crashing today, doing horrible as a result of Donald Trump. But most significantly, the American people are suffering right now. No one wants to be involved in these never-ending wars. And Netanyahu is meeting with Hegseth as we speak, talking about, as Donald Trump says, and again, the United States speaks like Nazis at this point. I mean, the language is horrific, is how Donald Trump speaks. We're going to blow the effing S out of them. We're going to blow the shit out of them. We're going to blow their bridges. We're going to blow their power plant. That's not how the United States should ever sound. That's how war criminals sound. And it's absolutely abhorrent to hear the commander in chief and leadership speak like that. It's so absolutely disgusting in my opinion. The Popular Mobilization Forces, that's the Iranian-backed kind of militia groups that are embedded within the Iraqi army, reported a preliminary total of 20 killed and 32 wounded after the U.S.-Saudi strikes hit multiple PMF headquarters across Baghdad, Wasit, Nineveh, Basra, Kirkuk, Karbala, and Diyala. And of course, they've threatened that they will be retaliating against U.S. interests in the region there. The massive escalation right now is taking place. In other words, let me share with you some of the footage that we have as U.S. and Saudi Arabia launch these strikes against the PMF in Iraq. And to be clear, the PMF is recognized within the Iraqi army. It's not like some hidden secret thing. And so this was also a kind of an attack on trying to create division between the Iranian army and kind of the Shiite factions within that army as well. Let me just show you this video right here. We have more footage right here as well from some of these U.S. and Saudi Arabian strikes. Here, let's play it.
Let's face it, after a night with drinks, I don't bounce back the next day like I used to. I have to make a choice. I can either have a great night or a great next day. That is until I found pre-alcohol. ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. And here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's a buildup of this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for rough days after drinking. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make pre-alcohol your first drink of the night, drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Every time I have pre-alcohol before drinks, I notice the difference the next day. Even after a night out, I can confidently plan on having a great next day without worrying. Look, I won't lie, I was a bit on the fence about pre-alcohol initially, but after giving it a chance, believe me, it's the real deal. July is packed with barbecues, fireworks, lake weekends, and late nights with friends. Keep the good times rolling into the next day. Drink pre-alcohol before you go out and wake up ready for whatever Sunday brings. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/Meidas and use the code Meidas at checkout for 15% off.
Here are some of the photos coming out of some of the PMF members who were killed by Saudi Arabia and the United States. Saudi Arabia came out with a statement shortly after saying, we don't want escalation. PMF made it very clear they're going to escalate. And between Houthis saying they're going to be escalating against Saudi Arabia, PMF escalating against Saudi Arabia, Trump saying I'm going to blow the effing shit out of Iran, Iran saying we control the Strait of Hormuz, Houthis today in Yemen working with Iran now to do a tolling system in the Bab el-Mandab Strait, very similar to what Iran is doing in the Strait of Hormuz to control the Strait of Hormuz. Iran saying, let's be very clear. We are never going to allow, ever, we will fight to the death before we allow the United States to use the southern route or anybody to use the southern route on the Strait of Hormuz closer to Oman without our permission and consent. It just ain't happening. We're creating a tolling system here, and we're going to work with the Houthis to create a tolling system in the Red Sea to chokehold the Bab el-Mandab Strait. Both the Strait of Hormuz and Bab el-Mandab are going to be locked down in tolling systems. We've been discussing this for a long time here on the MeidasTouch Network. That doesn't come as a shock or a surprise to you. But, you know, that's why I still expect the price of oil to hit 125, 150. We're nowhere close to being out of this. It's Donald Trump back to when he was, you know, remember when COVID, it's going to go away in a day. It's going to get better. Easter, it's going to go away. Bend the curve. Things are amazing. Things are great. More on that in a moment, because apparently things are so bad right now in the United States. Our economy is crashing. There's this never ending war. People are suffering. It's actually never been worse right now for at least recent modern history in the United States. So now Trump and MAGA are talking about the pandemic as a way to distract from the catastrophic war and the catastrophic economy. So catastrophic war to cover up the Epstein files. Now we're going back to their conspiracies about the pandemic in order to cover up the catastrophic war, which is covering up the Epstein files. That's what con artists do. That's what scammers do. It is all this Russian nesting doll of lies and cons to try to distract everybody while they loot and pilfer and do things like you're seeing as well with Trump and Gianni Infantino and the Kushners, who want to create that hold company to sell off the World Cup and sell off pieces to private equity. You heard this, right? At a like $40 billion valuation. And now they're trying to bribe local football federations. We'll give you access to $40 million in funds if you go along and bless our scheme to sell off the World Cup. They literally want to destroy everything that can bring joy by selling it to private equity and selling it to the right-wing oligarchs. That's what they want to do also, while they create this absolute chaos. Now, one thing I'll note as well, and this goes back to our coverage of the Epstein files, right? One of the things that Epstein and Bannon and all these people in Epstein class in Trump's orbit wanted is create chaos, destroy kind of the global order, and then have the oligarchs, while people are fumbling around and attacking each other, loot and pick people's pockets, you know, and ostensibly do things. This wasn't in the files, but like turn FIFA World Cup into a private equity holdco and then sell it off so that they can get their greedy hands on freaking everything. And you know they're getting their greedy hands on children's sports as well. Iran Fars, that's their state media, citing military sources saying we're not giving up control over the Strait of Hormuz. Meanwhile, Admiral Brad Cooper, the head of U.S. CENTCOM, told the service members stationed in the Middle East, warn them, you're not allowed to take videos or photos of anything that's happening in these bases. The U.S. already shut down satellite footage of the bases in the Middle East because we were able to see that Iran was destroying the U.S. bases and equipment and radar systems and early detection warning systems and all of that. And now you have Cooper saying you got to stop posting the videos and stop sending videos home to your family about what's actually happening here because you're emboldening Iran. Really, by actually creating transparency that our service members are sitting targets and are getting killed, and that CENTCOM and Hegseth and this despicable Trump regime is out there covering up the casualty numbers. You want to hide that even more? That's completely unacceptable. It is beyond distressing that we have a regime of war criminals right now in charge that's covering up the true casualty amounts right now. I also reported earlier that China is providing multiple, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of those man-pad shoulder missiles that will be going to Iran, as well as this is becoming a full-fledged, not just regional war, but a war involving basically the entire world. Now, one of the things we talked about on the MeidasTouch account this morning, Republicans want us to memory hole everything Trump did in 2020 while dragging us back into the same tired 2020 culture wars. Fauci, Wuhan, vaccines, communism, because now in 2026, they broke the country and they desperately need a distraction to reinvigorate their base. It's like Vanilla Ice doing Ice Ice Baby on loop over and over and over again, which is an apt comparison because Trump has Vanilla Ice, the only person who's performing now at Mar-a-Lago doing Ice, Ice, Ice Baby. Things are so bad for Republicans right now that they're like, okay, but we all remember the pandemic, right? When things were good, like when thousands of people were dying every day. So the MAGA Republicans, I'll do a whole other video on this in a moment, bring in Dr. Fauci to testify today before the United States Senate. And their whole idea is to get him for perjury and then to prosecute Fauci. That's their whole big push right here. And so Fauci just invoked the fifth the whole time, knowing that that's their plan. But let me show you what the MAGA Republicans were doing, what this whole thing was. While the American people are like, can you just make life more affordable for us? Can we stop these never-ending wars? Why are you bringing in Fauci? Why are you doing no? Who in 2026 seriously is like, we need Fauci? Yes, Fauci. I'll tell you, like Laura Ingraham, who's right behind him. And she acted like she was I kid you not, Laura Ingraham spent this hearing acting as almost though like she was a victim of Fauci and that she was there like looking sad. And she's like, this was weaponized against me. These people are the most pathetic losers. Imagine, call out these losers. These are freaking losers. You've got Senator Moreno to Dr. Fauci. He's like, here's what he goes, who the fuck do you think you are? Who the fuck do you think who are these people who talk? This is a MAGA Republican cross-examining Dr. Fauci, like cursing during this hearing so they could get brownie points with the monster creature thing in the Oval Office and get on state regime media Fox. Here, play this clip.
When that story broke, I said to myself, I cannot stand idly on the side and watch this happen. It was about 6 years ago today that I decided I'm going to give up my businesses, sell them all, run for office, run for the United States Senate. Here I am sitting in front of you 6 years later saying, who the fuck do you think you were for doing that?
And then part of Moreno's questions is like, stand up right now if you've been victimized by Dr. Fauci. As though this is like the Trump regime covering up the Epstein files and re-traumatizing survivors, right? And Laura Ingraham stands up and she's like, me, I've been victim. Really? The person who was complicit in a settlement for close to $1 billion for defamation of character? You are the victim, Laura Ingraham? Anyway, here, play this clip.
Dr. Fauci, can you just turn around and look at the people behind you? You're not willing to do that? That's not a question. It's not a question. To your lawyers, not a question. It's a request. All you have to do is look up from your lawyers and look at the people who were absolutely shamed for saying what we know now to be the truth. You can't even look at them? That's a question. Are you able to look at them? You can sit down in the audience.
And this is what they were talking about all morning. They brought on this is what right-wing regime media was trying to push. And this is what the Trump proxies were trying to push all morning. Like they had Peter Navarro making his rounds, and Peter Navarro was like, hydroxychloroquine. We needed it. I had 1 billion gallons of hydroxychloroquine horse tranquilizers ready to go, and they screwed me. Okay, look. It's 2026, okay? You have Netanyahu meeting with Hegseth. We're in never-ending war. Y'all created this mess right now, this disaster, and this is what you want to talk about? Who the hell are these frickin' people? Here, play this clip.
If it saves lives, that's a beautiful thing. I think history will judge who's right on this debate, but I'd bet on President Trump's intuition on this one because of all the doctors I've talked to and all the scientific papers I've read, and they're about this high.
And then you have Chris Wright, the energy secretary, accusing blue states of scapegoating data centers. This was their other message this morning. This guy sounds like such a weasel too. Why are they demonizing data centers? Data centers actually helps electricity prices go down, not up. Data centers, we all know, reduces. What are you talking about? Do you just think we're all stupid? This whole regime just thinks we're all stupid because they're used to their MAGA hat zombie idiots who are like, yes, daddy, you're my daddy. Your daddy, you're better than my parents, Donald. I mean, whatever the stupid that you heard what he said in Michigan. It's like, I'm better than your parents. They're used to that. But the American people, we're not putting data centers in our backyard and telling us that it makes electricity prices go down. What are you talking about? Here, play this clip.
Blue states have 50% higher electricity prices than red states. And now they figure they've got the perfect scapegoat. It wasn't our bad green policies. It was data centers that did it. Of course, it's total nonsense. The places that develop data centers and new firm generation, those are the places that'll see electricity prices go down, not up.
Well, you've got your hard hat on. I know you're going to go down in the mines with the Kentucky coal miners shortly. Mr. Secretary.
There you have it, folks. Let me know what you think about all of this. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. Thanks for watching.
Before you go, our book, WTF America, is available for pre-order now. It's the story of how we got here and how we fight our way back. To pre-order, scan the QR code or click the link in the description. Let's do this.